Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Me too, me like contribute lik golo tok blo good treasurer blame me. I hope we can take note of some of the issues that are raised today. Me sabe osam the supplementary budget and supplementary budget. You may look lo September taso, October come close to proper budget by come. Osam na this la supplementary budget it's taken note of the windfalls that have come through. Now you have rightfully mentioned that there is sometimes when there is a fall in the economy, a supplementary budget must be brought forward, and where there is a windfall, we take note of that, and a supplementary budget is also brought forward. Now, like talk how much also Speaker, tough times call for tough measures, and in this time of COVID, now you may talk lo Russia, one time Ukraine lo this la war. We know that we are going through a situation that is beyond our control. But again, adaptation is very, very important, Mr. Speaker. And so we all know that COVID is here to stay. Whether it's totally eradicated or it continues to remain, it is our duty as human beings created by God to adapt into situations. And so we all know that COVID is here to stay. People have begun to adapt with the COVID situations that we have. And then all of a sudden we have a war that has popped up that is beyond our control as well. And that is the Russia-Ukraine war. And a few days ago, the governor of ICPIC spoke about the Taiwan situation with China. And so wars are beyond our control. They will be here, but it is the duty and responsibility of responsible governments to make certain that we take control of our economies, take control of our countries, and take control of our people. And that is very, very important. And so when I look at the supplementary budget that is put before us, I am thankful, number one, I am thankful of the relief measures, Mr. Treasurer and Mr. Speaker, that you have put forward. First of all, I would like to say thank you for the 160 million subsidies that you have put forward for our people. And secondly, the 611 million household assistance. But I'd like to deviate a bit and then come back. I started off by saying that tough measures call for, tough times call for tough measures. And I purposely mentioned this because the struggles that we are going through in the past 3 years, 5 years, are not 10 years, are not new to this government, not new to the previous government. And let me, at this juncture, say this and congratulate, I think, the Speaker, that for the first time in your speeches and in this supplementary budget speech that you made, for the first time you haven't referred or called any names. Yeah. You have taken control of your house now. Yeah. And me looking at your speech today, I'd like to congratulate you that you have now taken control of your house. And this is an achievement that everybody should see. That you listen to the past finish, now you look steering house now, steering economy now. Now I'd like to congratulate you for that. Yeah. Mr. Speaker, with the 160 million come lo halivim, our people blame me, our schools blame me, our students blame me, our parents blame me. Now this la 611 million kina time you me look him come lo household relief blame me. Mr. Speaker, this la mo big pla money started come lo halivim, our people blame me. You know lick money. We are not talking about hundreds of kinas or so. We are talking about millions of kina being spent to subsidize education, to assist our with the household assistance. That's all, Mr. Speaker. One plus something you must look in. Now, you leaders of this House must take stock of is that we must assist our people to begin to realize that these tough times are not here to go. They are here to stay. One DSIP you may kiss him, one money you may kiss him. You must encourage more people, blame me, to get back to the land. To get back to the land, Mr. Speaker. We see a lot of young men and women sitting doing nothing whole day under the house, on the streets, Golo Warana was whole day. And yet, Mr. Speaker, plantations are growing wild. Coconut plantations, cocoa plantations, coffee plantations are going wild. You must rouse him. This mentality of dependency on government. Na kisimo people blame me, lo refocus. Refocus, go back to the land. Laziness has crept into homes. Laziness has crept into our young people, where they depend too much on mommy and daddy putting food on the table instead of them getting out there and doing something. Those of us who were educated back in the 70s and 80s, you must tell him. We went to the coconut plantations, worked the copra, and paid our own school fees. Now here I see 160 million kina has been set aside for subsidy of school fees. That's all. You go back to the place. Fees work lo silip lo sawara, work lo white team, hook na talk, hook we. Coconut plantations are going wild. Now you, your members, must take stock of the responsibility to go out there and spend some of our DSIP to rehabilitate the coconut plantations, to rehabilitate the cocoa plantations, the coffee plantations, instead of people depending on us to pay every toya, instead of parents taking responsibility themselves. Mr. Speaker, it brings me to the next point. And the next point is this. Education Minister, please take note. Minister Blood Treasury and put him 160 million kina, lo halivim, lo school subsidy. But it's not realized at the school level, on the ground. Minister for Education, kiss him all officials below you. Go down, check him all schools. Why the funds are not trickling down to the people? Because we are making the announcements here. And government is making those grand, big announcements. The realization is down there. Our people down there must see that the government's announcements are actually realized down there. Now, Mr. Speaker, how much of them, this 160,000 has been announced. Million has been announced. But our people are waiting for the realization. And must karim kai. Household assistance. In the last supplementary budget, Mr. Treasurer announced the 600 million household assistance. Now, some people said, I went over to the shelves, at the shops, and I was surprised that oxen palm has jumped from 14 kina up to 17 kina. Let me talk. Where is this household assistance, relief assistance? And then here the Treasurer tells us that the changes will require some additional legislation. Suppose oversight by me or government, a good plan you can put in false hope golo or people blame me. You must start to something finish, the behind you announcing. We announced it 6 months ago, and our people are waiting, and now we have announced that it will take effect in January. It will take us a while before this is realized. Number 2, Baratana or Susa. Number 3, Baratana or Susa. All workman blame me. You may be announcing this threshold. Last supplementary budget or some online and 15 or 17,000 below, they won't be taxed. Now you may increase the threshold, go 20,000 kina. Now, all by weight yet? What's happening with our ALESCO system, the payroll system? That by you mean wait, now, all relief measures that we have announced, or workman, the ones who are working tirelessly, will still wait for those relief measures to take effect. And again, I'm not here blaming the government. Governments are here to make announcements. Governments are here to make policies. But it is the responsibility of people down there to make certain that it becomes what it is, as announced. So, Mr. Speaker, points mi hammas lo hari mausam inflation am drop lo 9 to 10%, come down lo 6.2%. GDP growth am look good, but it must be realized by our people. It must be translated to our people. Our people must see that government blow me here. Am talk inflation come down, na GDP am strong, am go on top here. Government blow me, am so emotion, am walk na me. Time me go inside the store, me looking for some price blow rice come down, sugar come down. Walk, me like pani walk, me go walk is stop. Now that brings me to the next point, Mr. Speaker. Downstream processing. Mr. Speaker, I am so encouraged to see the Treasurer has included downstream processing in his report or in his speech today. Excuse me. Mr. Speaker, downstream processing is the way forward for this country. It's the way forward for this country, and I'm also encouraged to hear the new Minister for Forest address that in his speech, in his answers the other day. Mr. Speaker, we can talk downstream processing, and Mr. Treasurer, you can take note of that and continue to note that in your speeches in budgets after budgets. But if we are very serious about downstream processing in this country, Mr. Speaker, we have to begin to put the infrastructure in place for downstream processing. You must build in all factories. Budget must be made available for us to build the infrastructures. Roads to those areas that we want infrastructure to go to, downstream processing to go through for logging companies. Wharfs for fishing. The infrastructure has to be put in place. When we have the infrastructure in place, now you may announce also the world, people need him, downstream processing investors to come in. They will come in, they will be encouraged to come in because there is facilities already available for that purpose. Otherwise, by me talk downstream processing, the time will come inside want a millions blow, they'll spend 2 to 3 years doing nothing but building infrastructure while we wait for the effect of downstream processing. Also, lo speech for you, Mr. Treasurer, I take note of the downstream processing points that you have put in. I hope that we can take note of some of the points that we have raised. PNG is not a poor country, Mr. Speaker. PNG is a country that is blessed more than any country on the surface of this earth. And we thank God for that. All got something, all got a resource you got, and win him all Napla country. But it comes down to one thing, Mr. Speaker, and that is prudent management of our economy. Prudent management of our economy. And we as leaders in this honorable house must practice to stand upright and fight against corruption. You may talk, but we are responsible for this economy. It's not only the treasurer's responsibility as treasurer to manage the economy. Every minister seated on the other side, you are responsible for this economy. To make certain that your departments are performing to support the treasurer. And we in this house must take note that corruption has evaded, has gone through and eaten every fabric of our systems. And how do we get rid of those bad practices? It begins with some of us as leaders here in this house. And when I talk about prudent management of our economy, it begins with all of us, everyone. Mr. Speaker, I also take note of so much of money. I'm thankful that Mr. Treasurer has, through the Speaker, Mr. Treasurer has again seen the importance of paying our landowners. All the dues that therefore our landowners must be paid. Pogera landowners, the Heights guests, logging companies, everywhere we owe people money. But Mr. Speaker, I have a concern here. My biggest concern is we pay so much money to our people, but there is no visibility, no transparency, no accountability of those funds that are going to our people. It goes over to the landowners. Certain people become millionaires overnight, and the people that the funds are meant for are still in the dark. They continue to suffer. And so it is very important, Mr. Treasurer, that whilst we are encouraged that money is going back to our people, the landowners, the visibility, the transparency, accountability of those funds must be noted. That our landowners, it does not benefit only one or two coming and living up at Toaguba Hill, driving expensive vehicles, flying in and out, but the very people out there are suffering. The benefit must go back to our people, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, finally, let me encourage the Treasurer through the Chair and the Prime Minister to take note. We have noted the struggle of our forex, the foreign exchange. Companies, big companies like Coca-Cola, Trukai Rice, and many other companies who depend on raw material coming in to produce the products here in the country. The waiting time has gone from days to weeks, now it's gone to months. It's forced these companies to retire some of their workers because of the waiting time. The price of goods have gone up because of the waiting time for forex. Mr. Treasurer, through the Chair, I would like to ask you kindly, how do you as a Treasurer and government come up with measures to make certain that we stabilize the forex from its continuous fluctuation? And how do we pin it at some level so that we can give comfort to our investors, so that we can give comfort to people who need the forex on a regular basis? Employment is one of our biggest hurdle in the country, Mr. Speaker. Our employment rates haven't gone up. They continue to drop. And Mr. Speaker, I'd like to encourage the government that when we put out very good speeches, very good reports like this, we must follow up. Follow-up is very, very important. Finally, let me take this opportunity to thank the government that from this report, 2/3 of the money that we have goes to retirement of our DNOWs, and that is encouraging. 1/3 of that goes to services. I think we should balance that up in due course And hopefully that when you bring the budget proper in October, it will reflect that yes, mipla buy dinner. That's why mipla losing plenty money go no services blow people blow mipla. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.